What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I wanted to share my thoughts on the Throwback playlist in CoD WW2. First off, we're going to go through and break down each of these Throwback perks, which a lot of you guys will recognize from previous Call of Duty games. Even though we don't have access to these perks in custom games, so I can't test them with absolute perfect accuracy or anything, I did manage to get a few numbers and a few tests done within public matches here, so I can share generally what these perks are going to be doing for you and how effective they are, as well as when to use certain perks and when to avoid using certain Throwback perks. So let's go through the list of perks here. First up, we have Danger Close, and with Danger Close, you get extra explosive damage, as well as your class automatically gets 3 frag grenades. So that's kind of bringing back that infamous 3x frag from Call of Duty 4. And with this one, obviously, I wasn't able to do some super detailed testing because, like I said, I don't have access to these in custom games. But I did play around with this a little bit with launchers, as well as just using the frag grenades that are on your class, and while it does seem to really help a lot with your explosive damage, it doesn't really seem to counter the armored division. Or at least it doesn't seem to cancel out the armored division's explosive resistance. I found that even if that grenade is right next to an armored user with Danger Close equipped, it's often still not going to get the kill on him unless he's already hurt from something else. Moving on to the next one, this one is also pretty infamous from the past. This one is Commando Pro, and it gives you increased melee range as well as immunity from fall damage. In addition to that, the bonus gives you faster melee, so you get a faster melee recovery time. Now, based on my experience in-game with this, that increase to your melee range isn't near where it was back in Modern Warfare 2. You don't teleport across to your enemy by any means, but you can definitely notice the increased range that it gives you. It seems like you get a little bit more of a lunge, and it makes you pretty deadly with a melee weapon. As for the lack of fall damage, it's not really all that useful on a lot of the maps in this game. There are very few situations where you have to worry a lot about fall damage, unless you're already hurt from a fight and then you just happen to dive off of something in a stupid way. So that part doesn't really help all that much, and the faster melee speed does definitely help if you're running into multiple enemies with a melee weapon. Next up we have Double Tap, and with Double Tap you have greatly increased fire rate of your weapons, and with the bonus you get significantly improved hipfire accuracy. I did a little bit of hand testing on this, and it looks like Double Tap gives you a 30% increase to your rate of fire, which is massive. Most of the guns in the game with rapid fire get a rate of fire increase of roughly 6 to 9%. So a 30% increase is absolutely massive with this, and this does actually stack with rapid fire if you want to absolutely maximize that rate of fire. Getting into Martyrdom, this is another infamous perk from the past. With this one, you drop a live grenade when you die, even if you don't have a grenade equipped on your class. And the bonus is you have a shortened fuse on your explosives. So just like Saboteur, you get that shortened fuse. I should also mention that this shortened fuse does apply to your Martyrdom nade, so this is actually a buffed version of Martyrdom from Call of Duty 4. When you drop that nade, it blows up very quickly, and therefore if you kill an enemy up close that's using Martyrdom, you have basically no time to react and get out of the way. Next we have Stun times 3. With this one you get 3 concussion grenades on your class, and you also get that perk from the armored division where you're immune to shell shock as well as tactical equipment. Next up, we have probably the most popular perk in the Throwback playlist, and this is Stopping Power. And Stopping Power increases your bullet damage, and with this one in the past, it was always a 40% increase to your bullet damage. Based on all the hand testing I was able to do, it appears that value holds true. So Stopping Power increases your bullet damage by 40%, and what this means is most of the time, there will be some exceptions that I'll talk about in a little bit here, most of the time, Stopping Power will reduce the number of shots it takes to kill on an enemy by 1. Now, instead of going through a list and telling you all the guns that Stopping Power is good on, it's actually good on most of the guns. Instead, I'm going to share the exceptions, where you aren't really getting the most out of that Stopping Power perk. So the first group of exceptions are going to be the 2-shot kill semi-auto weapons. With these, if you put Stopping Power on there, it won't be a 1-shot kill to the body. It's still going to take 2 shots to kill, so in most situations, you really aren't seeing any benefit from Stopping Power. However, one thing you can do with these guns is if you use high caliber as well as Stopping Power, it will now be a 1-shot headshot, and this is a perfect time to be going for the headshot camo challenges for the M1 Garand, the SVT-40, and the Type 5. Combine high caliber with Stopping Power, and you're going to be getting tons of 1-shot kills to the head. In any other situation though, if you're just going for body shots, don't bother with Stopping Power. You'd be better off with one of the other Throwback perks. As for the SMGs, Stopping Power is great on all of the SMGs aside from the Grease Gun as well as the Sterling. The thing with the Grease Gun and the Sterling is they have a pretty decent 3-shot kill range, and you want to try and keep most of your gunfights within that 3-shot kill range. Stopping Power doesn't turn this 3-shot kill range into a 2-shot kill, so therefore any situation where you're within that ideal range, that 3-shot kill range, you aren't gaining any benefit from Stopping Power. Now, you are still gaining benefits beyond that 3-shot kill range, so essentially you extend your 3-shot range, but you aren't getting the same sort of benefit as you'd be getting on many of the other SMGs or many of the other guns in the game. And again, you're probably better off with a different throwback perk like Double Tap or Juggernaut, which we'll talk about in a little bit. As for LMGs, there's one LMG that doesn't really gain anything from stopping power, and this is the MG81. It's got a strange damage profile of 35 damage, which means even with stopping power, it's still going to be a 3-shot kill on a full health enemy, and this applies to every range you'll find in the game, so you don't even get that benefit of like an increased 3-shot range or anything. Stopping power is essentially useless on the MG81. You'd be much better off with Double Tap. As for the other categories, with the sniper rifles, stopping power is amazing on the Carabin. It makes it a one-shot kill all the time, no matter what. But having said that, I don't know if I'd really recommend it on a Kar 98 or an M1903 Springfield. Those guns are generally going to be a one-shot kill anyway, so stopping power is unnecessary. Even though it will now make it a one-shot kill even to the foot, it's not really necessary on those. It's not helping you in a lot of situations. And with the other ones, the Lee Enfield and the Type 38, it is kind of arguable. If you're aiming high and generally hitting them in the chest, you're still going to be getting a one-shot kill. But if you're hitting them in the stomach or lower, then stopping power turns a hit marker into a one-shot kill. So with those two, it's really up to you. As for shotguns, I don't know exactly what stopping power does to shotguns, but based on my experience with it, it doesn't seem to have a really significant effect. It's not like your one-shot kill range is extended out by an insane distance or anything. It really doesn't seem to make a massive difference, and therefore with most shotguns, I would much rather prefer Juggernaut to allow me to close that distance a lot more effectively by soaking up an extra bullet, and therefore I wouldn't recommend stopping power with the shotguns. So those are your exceptions with stopping power. If you're using stopping power on these guns, you're not really gaining the full benefit out of it, so I'd recommend one of the other throwback basic trainings. And this brings us to our final perk with the throwback playlist. This is Juggernaut. It goes alongside with stopping power because it's the reverse of stopping power. Instead of giving you extra damage, this one gives you extra health. And once again, this appears to follow suit with previous Call of Duty games. It appears to give you 40% extra health, so it's basically a perfect counter to stopping power. With Juggernaut, you can use this on pretty much any class you'd want, although I would highly recommend it for a lot of the guns I recommended as exceptions to stopping power. Personally, I prefer having more damage than more health, most of the time, but if stopping power isn't really having much of an effect on your gun, if you're using one of those exceptions, then I'd much rather have that extra health so I can survive a little bit longer in those gunfights. So those are all the throwback perks and how they behave. Now I wanted to just share my opinion on this featured playlist. At first, I was really skeptical. I was thinking, like, what's the point? Does this really change things that much? Everybody's just going to be running stopping power, and I don't really see the point of doing this, especially looking at a lot of these other perks that were just like the most infamous perks from the past that caused a lot of frustration. I was thinking, why do we want this? Then I played this playlist on stream yesterday for a couple hours, and I really started seeing why people like this. I think the biggest reason people are liking this playlist right now is because of stopping power. Most people are running stopping power, like I said, and when you put that on your gun, it now generally takes one less shot to kill, which just means you're basically just playing a game mode with a faster time to kill and the lack of a perk, because you're basically using stopping power as a crutch perk. I can definitely see why people like that faster time to kill, because you're able to drop people faster, and you don't really notice hit detection issues as much if you have a faster time to kill, because there's fewer shots that you have to hit, so there's less time for something to go wrong there. So now after playing with it, I definitely understand why people really like this playlist, and I think it would be cool to have something like this as a side playlist, or maybe even instead of the throwback perks and everything, just have like a featured mode that has stopping power built in for everyone, so it frees up the basic training still, so people can use a basic training, but they have that stopping power built in. I think that would be kind of cool as a featured mode. I have seen a lot of people suggest that that should be the standard time to kill, and I'm not really convinced of that. Personally, I do prefer a slightly slower time to kill in Call of Duty, because I feel like there's more of a gunfight that happens when you have a slower time to kill. Gunfights are more so decided by people that have sustained accuracy, they can keep themselves on target, they have good recoil control. It's not just about hitting the first 1 or 2 shots, it's about staying on target. And there's also a little bit of time to react and make decisions within a gunfight itself. You can try to evade shots, you can take cover, you can duck, you can dive, you can do all of these things in reaction to a gunfight, and you can use superior skill and strategy within the gunfight itself to come out on top over your enemies. Whereas when you have a really fast time to kill, it's more so just a game of positioning, and the best positioning wins 99% of the time. And that's not to say that positioning isn't important when you have a slower time to kill. It still is. Like, hitting those first 2 shots gives you a massive leg up in the gunfight. But I kind of like that slower time to kill because it forces you to follow up and actually finish your kill rather than just having that immediate kill on people. So I understand the draw to this now after playing with it, and it was kind of nice playing with a really fast time to kill again. Having said that, I don't think it should be a standard. Perhaps just bring this throwback playlist into rotation as a featured mode where it comes up every once in a while. Every few weeks or something, we get a throwback playlist for the weekend. I personally think that would be great, especially for those people that are hunting for camo challenges. This mode can be great for camo progress. So with that, I'd like to know in the comment section below, what are you guys thinking about this throwback playlist so far? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? And also, what do you guys think of having just a generally faster time to kill, basically stopping power built in? Would you prefer if everybody had stopping power built in? Or are you like me, where you like it just a little bit slower so those gunfights last just a bit longer? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.